Substance Painter is a 3D painting program. Much like Photoshop, it is the industry standard in texturing 3D models, and it employs the same layer-based system. This way, if you already know how to use Photoshop, the transition to Substance Painter will be a lot easier, as many of the tools are very, very similar. Substance Painter's main purpose is to create textures for 3D models, which is made extremely easy by the use of advanced masking and procedural texturing tools. The end results you can get working in Substance Painter for only a couple of minutes is a lot harder to accomplish with other software like Photoshop. Employing out-of-the-box tools like generators allows users to create both stylized and photorealistic textures in a very short time with relative ease. This is what makes this software so powerful compared to non-procedural methods. However, while a Photoshop user might be taken aback by the flexibility that these tools provide, surely there are other 3D texturing software that take advantage of this technology. Now, speaking of Substance Painter, if you're interested in creating beautiful, beautiful textures as a beginner, like anime textures and Ghibli-style textures, I recommend checking out my course, the 3D Artist Coloring Book. I have a ton of lessons in there that teaches you how to make beautiful materials from scratch using really creative techniques. So if you're interested, I'll leave a link in the description for people who want to consider getting it. How hard is it to learn Substance Painter compared to other texturing software? In my opinion, most of the popular 3D texturing software have a remarkably gentle learning curve. By comparison, learning how to use something like Blender or Unreal Engine is a lot more time-consuming and frustration-inducing, but that's only because their main goals are more or less completely different. When we're talking about Substance Painter, the end goal is only producing high-quality textures for already made models, which is one of the less daunting tasks in a 3D asset production pipeline, depending on who you ask, of course. Now, compared to other similar software, you won't really notice many differences as you're learning how to use them, since most of the texturing tools can be learned fairly quickly and the complexity of most is relatively low. The learning curve should not really be a deciding factor when choosing whichever for your texturing work anyway. One of Substance Painter's really great alternatives is Quixel Mixer. This one is great for beginners and can be mastered rather quickly, but it lacks some more of the powerful features that Substance Painter has, such as built-in baking software. However, these features are in the roadmap and will be added eventually, so don't rule out Quixel just yet. It's still a relatively new software and will expand and grow considerably over the next few years. However, in comparison, Substance Painter benefits from a more robust set of tools, and it's just as easy to get the hang of as any of the more beginner-oriented pieces of software. So if you've wanted to give Substance a try and you don't mind spending a little cash, it's certainly a better option. Firstly, because it is considered industry standard, and secondly, because it has a truly solid set of features that will save you a lot of time in the long run. Alternatively, you can also look at Armor Paint, especially if you're a Blender user. Armor Paint was built directly from Blender's code, and it integrates many features that Blender users might already know, such as shader nodes. Using decals in Armor Paint is quite easy, even more so than Substance Painter, and the UI is very intuitive and easy to understand without much effort at all. The online user base is very helpful, and there are a lot of resources that will help explain everything you need to know about this program. However, its baking and masking capabilities are rather limited, and I found the software to be a bit unstable. Various bugs and crashes are to be expected on the regular. But then again, welcome to the 3D art space in general. Now, if you've decided that Substance Painter's price tag is worth it for its sturdy pack of tools and its relative stability, you may be asking yourself, do you need to learn how to draw to use Substance Painter? Well, generally, learning how to actually draw is an amazing skill to have just in of itself, and your 3D art will greatly benefit from it, especially if you're looking into doing stylized art. But do you unavoidably need to know how to draw? Fortunately, no. Digital art is great that way. You don't need to be an artist to use this software necessarily. If you're looking to generate textures or materials for the models you've got, you can pretty much get away with using the already made textures or the built-in materials within Painter. If you've got a low poly and high poly mesh, you can just drag and drop materials onto a layer and create a fairly decent look with just the use of the powerful baking feature. Further detailing can be made with some more advanced features such as masks or stencils. And you can use generators for just about anything. Adding grime, dirt, or scratches to a model is what is going to give it life and a story. And this can be done completely procedurally without you ever drawing on your model. And whenever you need to break up that uniformed look, you can add small details by using the generated material as a guide. Now, I'm not saying that you can just open Substance Painter and whip out a photorealistic material without doing any work, but knowing how to draw is certainly not a prerequisite, as you won't need to actually paint a professional level 2D texture, but rather work with the existing mesh and add small brushstrokes for detail. So what are some of the prerequisites to learning Substance Painter? Of course, spending just a week in Substance Painter in order to become a master would just be too easy. And since nothing good in life comes easily, there are still some things you need to know before you can print yourself a certificate saying Substance Painter Jedi. Before you start creating any materials of your own, you will first need a 3D model to apply them to. Of course, these can easily be found online, but in order for you to create the best materials that you possibly can, these models will need to reach a certain standard of quality. A lot of the models you find online will come with bad topology, which can be immensely frustrating when creating materials for them. You will also need low and high poly versions of these models, which you can't find easily online. So, of course, the best way to go about finding models is to actually create them yourself. Surely, downloading some free ones might seem fine in the beginning as you're dabbling into the software, but as you start to progress and get better, you'll start to see that being unable to model yourself is very, very limiting. If you're looking to learn Substance Painter as a new career path, you'll definitely need to learn how to create your own models, at least at a very basic level, as most jobs in this space now require a single person to do both as the modeling and texturing. Then there's the issue of those pesky UV maps. You won't be able to create great seamless materials and textures if you don't understand how UV mapping works. So all in all, before jumping into Substance Painter, which is a texturing software, if you've never jumped into a 3D suite in your life, you might want to consider giving that a go first. And whenever you start to feel comfortable with at least the basic concepts involving 3D meshes, Painter will be waiting patiently for you, and it will be a lot more forgiving. Now, I'm not saying you can't just jump right into the software and try to wing it along the way. It'll certainly take you more time, but if you're just looking to learn Painter as a hobby and you're fine with using ready-made assets, you're probably wondering, are there a lot of tutorials and learning resources available for beginners? Well, the short answer is yes. Considering that the Substance Suite is the industry standard for texturing, you'll be pressed not to find a lot of great tutorials, introductory courses, or online communities ready to come to your rescue whenever you're feeling stuck. A short YouTube search will bring you to several tutorials aimed at complete beginners that will take you through the most common tools and explain each feature in a great level of detail. Udemy, Pluralsight, and LinkedIn all have a myriad of courses that will teach you useful techniques and go through essential knowledge in a structured way, which makes them great to follow along, especially if you're just starting out. And now, since Substance Painter is a part of the official Adobe suite, you'll find plenty of tips and tricks and documentation and tutorials on Adobe's official website. And their customer support team is always ready to help you with any query you might have. I mean, I haven't had the best experience with Adobe's support team, but who knows, maybe you will. Not only that, if you're looking to connect with other Painter enthusiasts or get some kind of answer to a specific question you may have, you can head over to the Substance Painter subreddit or their official forums. With so many resources at your disposal, you might be asking yourself, where are some of the best places to actually learn Substance Painter? Now, that certainly depends on your preferred learning method. If you learn best through video tutorials, there's probably no better place to start than Adobe's official introductory videos. Wes McDermott does a great job at offering a bird's eye view over most of the common features, which will make you feel a lot more familiar with the software as you build up a base you can easily build upon later. If self-paced courses are more to your liking, you can check out this great Udemy course, which will also cover some Blender basics and take you through building and texturing a game asset from start to finish. Now, since I know my audience is pretty brand loyal, you'll find a myriad of tutorials on Substance Painter right here on Stylized Station. There are plenty of resources aimed at beginners, as well as intermediate and advanced tutorials that will take you from zero to hero in no time. The coloring book is a great resource if you don't want to spend time to learn modeling right off the bat, as it comes with several perfectly optimized models that you get to texture whichever way you want. And since no one really wants to spend more time than actually needed to be able to create something they're proud of, I've also gathered some tips to learn Substance Painter faster, just as a little bonus for the people who have stuck out the video so far. Obviously, by far your best bet is going over the introductory materials and getting accustomed to the interface. If you're going to spend your first few sessions, make sure you completely understand each panel and know your way around the UI. You're going to have a much easier time later on with this understanding. Learning some of the most important keys can also save you a lot of time in the long run, and I can say from excruciating experience that knowing the hotkeys by heart will make for a much more enjoyable study session, as you're not going to lose any precious time blindly searching for that one little feature. After you feel comfortable with the program itself, the next best step is to start gathering references. Did you see an interesting material while you were walking your dog? Was the cement rearranged in a cool pattern at the subway station? Stop for a bit and try to analyze it. Take a few pictures if you need to. I end up doing this all the time. I always take pictures of bark, cement, stone, other cool textures that I might be able to recreate in Substance Painter later. One tip I would recommend for people who are trying to take pictures of textures, just make sure to use the flash, especially if you're outside. Using the flash just ensures that your picture picks up on all the little details of this texture. Once you're back at your computer, you can try making that material from scratch just for fun. Of course, aiming for paneling, tiling, or other complex materials will probably not be the best idea as a beginner, so try looking for simpler materials instead. Following tutorials by heart can be a great starting point, but you might soon find yourself in something we call tutorial hell, where you can replicate what you've seen other people do, but you can't actually solve your own problems. A much better approach would be going through the beginner courses and then after that venturing out on your own and trying to create your own materials and solutions with the things that you've already learned. This is by far the biggest tip that I give any beginner in any medium, whether it's texturing or modeling. After you've done a course or tutorial, break off on your own and try to use what you've learned to create something unique. The best piece of advice I can probably give you is that you should just have fun with it. I know it sounds cheesy, but Substance Painter is really just a 3D coloring software, so if you're not having fun with it, you should try again and look for the childish spark of joy you had while you were drawing purple elephants back in kindergarten. Now, of course, Substance Painter is a little more complex than that, but you are certainly more capable and more intelligent than you were in kindergarten. And considering this software has such a gentle learning curve, you owe it to yourself to at least try. You never know what doors it's going to open in the next few years. If you guys enjoy the videos and want to support Stylized Station and get early access to our other videos, feel free to check us out on Patreon. Thanks for watching this one all the way through, guys. As usual, this is Thomas from Stylized Station, and I will see you in the next video.